Welcome to the Mapuana Show. I'm so excited. Today we have one of my most dearest friends, Naomi Masina. She is the whole reason why I wanted to become a photographer like over 15 years ago. I think now it's like 16, maybe 16 years ago. And we're going to talk about her journey and all the wonderful shifts that she has made. She is also a photographer, but also expanding into a whole bunch of fabulous other things. So, welcome to the show, Ohms.
Thank you. Thank you. So proud of you.
I'm so proud of you, girl. Okay, so today I want to talk about I've known you for 16 years, 15, 16 years, and I've watched you, Omi, go through so much. So, like, the woman you are today is just so expanded, like such a different version of the woman I met, but in such a beautiful way. And to have watched you gone through this whole journey, it's just so amazing to just see you blossom into like, and you just keep blooming, you know? And it's so beautiful. I want to talk about your shift and all the different shifts that you've made. When did you know things needed to shift?
Oh
And
gosh.
was there one specific moment or was there just like a bunch of little things?
Well, like you said, in the last 7 years, my life shifted completely just because of what was happening in my life. So there's so many things that happened. And all of these things built up to me shifting into a different life, but a lot of it was letting go of things. So my dad passed away, and mom's your dad passed away shortly after. And so we've kind of went through this experience of losing a very important person. And for me, I identified myself through my dad way more than I realized. And so when you lose an anchor person and you don't know who you are anymore, that feeling, that lost feeling of not really knowing who you are was the beginning, but it in my mind at the time, you think, okay, I don't really know who I am. I got to get back to who I was. And so a lot of it was just trying to get back to who I thought I was or who I had been. And I couldn't do it because when you change, you change. And we're attached to these ideas of who we are and how life is. And so, what the things that I've lost over the years, the way that my life shifted, the way I've given up things that I really was attached to and believed in. And so I can give you tons of examples on that, but what I knew needed to change was that I couldn't feel myself. I felt lost. I felt unanchored, like a kite that had no string, like just floating in the air. And it was the worst feeling because life has a way of being kind of scary. And so you hold really tight to the things that make you feel good or make you feel safe. And I mean, that's your ego, right? Like it's your identity, your self identity through an external source. And so when the external reflection of who I was, I no longer identified with her. I didn't know her. I didn't recognize her. I didn't really like her. I mean, I loved myself, but it was like feeling like I lived this long life and I didn't know who that person was. And so that just started to be like part of me, like, who am I? Like, I was my dad's daughter. I was my mother's daughter. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a photographer. I identified with my religion very much. And all these things defined who I was. And in that definition, I didn't like that. I didn't like what I was seeing. I was inspired. And so in a way, I feel like I had to I had to die a little bit. Like the person I was, I had to let her go. So I had cancer. I had my kids after I had 7 years that where I couldn't keep and stay pregnant. So we had all this trauma from that. And I lost my dad. And this everything built up into questioning, what is life about? You know, it's like the big question everyone wants to know. But weirdly, I grew up in kind of an environment where there were always answers. There's always the answer of what life is, purpose is, what life is about. And those didn't satisfy me anymore. They didn't reach me, those values that I really started to feel as I was changing. I didn't identify with this path that I was raised with and told how things were. And I started to see things as a set of rules that someone else made for
Mhm.
every. And
So, but those things, Omi, I feel like, okay, so like wife, mother, daughter, photographer, like I feel like those are things that are outside of you. You know, like those are the labels that are outside of you. Like Omi is a photographer, Omi is a wife, Omi is a mother. But then like it's like when the outside of you and the inside of you is changing, it's almost like is it not matching?
yeah, and it didn't match.
Yeah.
And the outside person that everybody telling me and reflecting back to me who I was, that was so much more important than who I was. I felt me. I knew who I was. I didn't really remember exactly what that felt like, but there is this part of all of us that is so deep, and we know it's there. And I think we touch on it in really beautiful moments, and we feel ourselves in times of peace and love. But the rest of the time, it's this performance. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and that's held me back a lot, like especially with photography. Like we've had constant challenges where I can't let go of things until they're perfect in my mind. But in my mind, that perfection wasn't what I loved. It was how I thought everyone would perceive me. So when we are striving for healthy growth, and I was like, I'm going to be the best photographer that I can be. I'm going to be the best mother I can be. I'm striving to be the best for myself, what I'm happy with. But when I'm doing it for other people, it doesn't feel good. That's perfectionism. That's what I struggled with, was because I was doing all these things trying to be the best wife I could be, the best mother I could be,
So
keep
it's
the house.
like you were seeking their approval more than acceptance of, or you were like you were seeking their acceptance of you more than you were accepting your own,
Yeah.
your own
And
self.
who are they? And that was what I
Yeah.
realized. I don't know who they were, but they were controlling so much of my life because there was this behavior, this role that was handed down to me through whatever, my family, my community. There was this thing that I accepted about myself, that I needed to be this way, and
Mhm.
never
It's like a
questioned.
set of rules, right?
Set of rules, like a woman is this,
Hmm.
a wife is this way, a mother is this way. And you know what? That's going to be different for every person. So as much as I can say, oh yeah, that affected me and I behaved in a specific way because of these rules, you hear those rules. You've been on this journey with me. You've been through so many things, and yet you interpreted life so differently than me. So in the end, when I could see, wait, these people all live in this world with me, but then other people have different experiences.
Yeah.
Why? And it
I
was
think
just,
for me, I'm like, oh, you cannot tell me what to
oh,
do.
the thing is, once you've told yourself what you can do, nothing ever stops you. And I could be like, yeah, mops could do that, but I don't know that I could do that. We go through this all the time because I
Always.
have had to work so much on like what I think I deserve, what value I have, because
Yeah.
living for other people.
And then what are you gonna hear me say, Ohms? Shut up, Omi.
How many times? Because I'll come and I'll hear what you say, and I'm like, I love that. That's so true, but not
Yeah.
for me. Like, but not for me, because it's kind of like, I'm gonna get into some a little bit.
You know what though? I think for you, I think it's a habit. I feel like it's a habit where like you want something and then you stop yourself in the exact same moment.
Yeah,
Like you're like, oh, this is nice. Yeah, but I could never have that.
yeah.
Like, you know,
Well, and we discussed that. Like last time we were together, I
yeah,
realized it was really painful, but there's this huge part of my life because of just just different messaging in my life. I was fully believing that beautiful things exist. Like the way I view the world, I see it. I know I see it more beautiful than other people with their eyes wide open. Like I see things and I feel
yeah.
things and I love people. I absolutely see life as beautiful. But the most beautiful things in life, I don't think they're mine. Like I used to not think that they belong to me. And it's because of this idea that people can have really nice things because they deserve them. And
But
the
did you not feel worthy of that?
no, no, and it wasn't really um as easy as like I just didn't feel worthy because nobody treated me that way. It was a fundamental set of values that I adopted about what was right, what was true, what you do to earn, what you do to like you're doing, not your being, right? And so there's a lot of things, and I'll use this as an example because it's the only way that I can explain it. In the religion that I grew up in, it's a beautiful, beautiful system of beliefs that support a core center on the family. And I mean, everything that I grew up in, the generation in which I grew up in my religion, and it's, I don't want to make anyone feel bad because I have so much respect for what I come from and where I come from, but I used to be part of the LDS faith, the Latter day Saints, the Church of Jesus Christ, Latter day Saints. And I, all in my whole life. But in this paradigm, the way that I interpreted it when I was young, and this is all looking back. So I was completely unaware of it growing up, but I grew up and I'm a female. I am mixed race, non-white. Um, we were very, very poor and my parents divorced. And all of those things are a little bit problematic in the narrative of the beautiful life. So there's all these like subtle messaging about what you're capable of and who you are, and all that messaging about who I'm supposed to be, how I'm supposed to be. And I believed it. And I never had to even really consider thinking about it because all the thinking had been done for me. So I could just accept it. And that's what you do when you're smart. My dad used to quote Confucius and say, a experience is a fool's best teacher. Wise men don't need experience. And I believe that. I mean, my dad probably heard it in his like freshman year philosophy class, and he would just, because it sounds so sophisticated. So I believed with the idea that it's already been told, I know what to do. I don't have to think about it. I just have to be that person and everything works out, was also contradicted by this idea that the most beautiful thing that's offered to us religiously through all these things was this whole family. And for me, that's the messaging I got. I mean, there's like a lot of beautiful things, but you get this family. And people will say, well, yeah, you still have your family. And I do. I have a family. I created a family. But the issue is that it was so intense with me. I led my entire life just trying to have this family that would give me all the happiness that I never deserved in the beginning because beyond my control, my parents divorced. So that gift of having an eternal, forever family was already lost. And I was fully aware that it was lost. I was told someday we'll figure it out. We'll know what to do with you then. Nobody knows. It'll all work out. But that's just so then I adopt this philosophy in life that all the beautiful things exist. They just might never be for me. I'm okay with not wanting it because I don't know why. Like that's where I struggle is that I didn't know how to want things for myself. It just wasn't part of my life. Like no nothing. Like there was no stability. There was no materialism. And I must have been shamed to a degree for wanting simple things as a child because the way that I just won't want things. It's just easier for me, and I feel shame when I like initially say, "Ooh, I want that. That's for me." And
Yeah.
I'm so aware
Why
of
though?
it.
Where does that shame come from? I want like why
I
okay,
someone's
but
just
do you still feel that way though? Do you still feel like when you want something, is it an old habit that you've
like,
had for so long? Like you're like,
yeah,
okay,
like I have to. I see it. I'm aware of it, and I'll say, "You want that? Why do you think you can't have it?" And I have to go through the whole
yeah.
thing. I honestly think it's as simple as being my parents not having the resources to provide
Oh,
and
okay.
feeling shame about it and
Maybe shame of them not being able to afford
right.
the like
I
you want, yeah.
and so when I would ask them for things, I could feel their shame about not giving it to me. So
Yeah.
that association with asking and wanting and creating shame in someone else was like, don't I don't know if it was outright that they were like, hey, stop asking for stuff. You ask for too much. Or if it was just like I could feel their energy about it, that I would never ask for what they couldn't give me because I never wanted to put that on them because I knew that they were doing the best that they could with what they had. I did know that from a child, I've known that, but I've also been able to feel their feelings.
Mhm.
And without the ability to communicate and without open communication, I had to make up my own reasons. And we all do that. But as a child, I was just so in tune to it that I've learned. So socially, I'm like a social genius. I can read the room. I know who and what and how much people can give
Mhm.
when I'm in their presence. And so I adjust myself accordingly. And there's some healthiness in that, but there's also I'm always going to sacrifice in that paradigm what
Mhm.
I want for what somebody else needs so that they don't feel uncomfortable, they don't feel shame, and
Mhm.
they don't hurt because
Mhm.
I don't like to feel that. So I would never want other people to feel that. But every time I was doing that, I was also robbing myself from
Mhm.
actually getting the thing that I wanted or
Mhm.
experiencing. So my approach to the world isn't like go out, see what you want and get it. It's figure out what you're allowed to have in this situation and take as little as you can so it doesn't hurt anyone else. And it's just a very different way to approach it. And I don't want to live like that. And that's all this healing process is actually reprogramming my brain to be like, why would it be any different for you to want it than your child to want it or for you to want it and your husband to want it? And so we've got this really great dynamic with my husband where we have a really, really honest communication. And it's never, well, it's been pretty honest, but we're so good at it now that there are things that in his life, because of the paradigm we've built and we've been together for so long, 22 years, there are things that became completely habituated. So his way that we lived his life for him, that's what we did. Like he had everything he wanted. He's a very active person. He's a very knowing what he wants kind of person. And I'm a very, I don't really know what I want, right? Like I'm a go with the flow. So what happens naturally is I give him all of my power and he happily takes it because he knows what he wants. And I'm just can't figure it out. And it takes the pressure off of me deciding what I want to do with my life because I've got a very high demand person in my life who isn't meaning to be so centered on himself, but will allow me to. And I am allowing myself to. So in the end, it's always my choice, but I put all my energy on him, all the, all the good things, all the freedom, like, and in that, I've given him everything as far as I'm concerned about his ability to live the life he wanted to live in freedom. And
Mhm.
I took none of that. And because I took none of that, we created a habitual pattern in which he had all this freedom and I had all this restriction, which also plays into kind of a cultural paradigm that I've been raised in, with culture, religion, and just being part of a patriarchy in America. Like, it was comfortable and it was normal and it was respectable. And that kind of person is the woman I wanted to be. That was what I was going for, was be this woman that's supportive and a helpmate.
And
And
then
I
letting go. So what, okay, so now that, so you've done that and then letting go though. So now that you've had to let that go, what was the hardest part about letting that identity go?
we barely made it. Like, I mean,
But you
barely.
did, and I'm so
Yeah.
happy that you
No,
both
you were there.
did.
You saw how hard it was because the hardest part of letting go of who I was not knowing who I am. I mean, and that's the thing, is who am I and who am I not? And so letting all that die, not knowing if I was going to be happy, if all these decisions were just going to make me so unhappy, that changing my entire value system to be more aligned with actually my heart and my soul, doing things because I want to, not doing things because I don't want to, not because someone says it's a rule, not because it's, women don't do that or mothers don't do that or wives do that. Like I've lived my life in so many shoulds. So letting go of the shoulds and just being and saying, accepting that I am a person who, for as much as I've lived in fear and never tried anything and never done anything, learns from experience. It's my way. I want to know what it feels like. And I think that's why my life has been the way it is. Why I grew up the way I did, why I had so little and I've had so much, and I have so much love and yet so much like hurt. Like I believe this is just experience. And why I think I have it is because it gives me the capacity to see others and to understand them. And you know what? That's all I want. Is I want the capacity to see people clearly and love them beyond who they think they are at this moment, because I know who I was and I know the love that I deserved, and I wouldn't give it to myself, and it only ever comes from you. Only comes from you. It doesn't come from someone loving you enough, someone accepting you, someone finally seeing your value. It comes from you understanding that that is who you are, and no one can take it away from you, and no one can give it to you. No one can magically open your heart and realize the only person that's going to love you right is you. And you can teach other people, and you can talk to them, and you can coach them, and you can create an environment of communication in which someone can meet your needs where you are. But you'll never do it until you think you deserve it. And most of my life, I did not think I deserved it. And now I absolutely know I deserve it. And there's no fight anymore. It's not like I have to say, and that was the difference with Nick and I. It wasn't like suddenly I had to say, you need to do this for me because I need to feel loved. He doesn't have to do anything for me. He owes me absolutely nothing. If he wants to be here and he wants to make my life better and he wants to add to it, he's welcome to. But what he can't do, what we're not going to do, is he's not going to take from me. He's not going to expect me to be someone for him. He's not going to hold me back. And that's the thing. I've not done that to him. And so the best part of it, and we go through this all the time, is because it's a hard conversation because I know I did a good job. I know I respected him in the way I wanted to be respected. And I give him the freedom and the trust that he wanted to go live his life. And he's done it. And he's done it so seamlessly. He just thought, what? This is my life. This is what I deserve. Not realizing that I didn't get any of that. But I also didn't think I deserved it because I thought he had to give it to me. And I give it to you. I show you, I model this wonderful behavior, and then you give it to me. But he didn't have the natural capacity to do that. And so then I just would feel resentful and hurt and cheated on like this life, but not talk about it. Be like, it's fine because I will not, to this day, this is the same, will not require anything of people who aren't willing and happy to be there. So like him knowing he didn't want to or he didn't naturally feel it, I'd be like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to ask for it. I'm not going to require him and nag him and force him to be this man for me.
It's like it's like loving with an open palm. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
am here and this is me and you can love me or not, but I'm not going to like conform to like whatever it is that,
Because
who
that to
you
me,
think I am.
because what I believe, I truly believe, and maybe this is the whole thing, it's love, it's self love. If you want to know when you need to change, if you don't love yourself, you need to change that. And then once you do love yourself, what does that even mean? And what for me love means now is absolute freedom. You do not owe me anything. Mapu, I love you. Do you owe me anything?
No.
No. When we show up together, we make magic, we create happiness. And when you go home, do I expect a call? Do I need you to text me every Friday? No. Do I show up in Hawaii on a Friday because I just decided to come and have lunch with you and go home the next day? I do.
Yes.
But that's love.
But
And
that's
that's
your free spirit, Omi, that I love. I love getting the call like, hey girl, I forgot to call you. And actually I'm on the flight and I land in about 5 hours. So come get me and let's go eat sushi, jump in the ocean. And then I'm taking the red eye back home.
my absolute favorite thing in the whole world.
Same.
So,
I love it.
in that freedom, when we say we love people, we say, I love you. You need to do this for me. When you love someone, and I only know this because I restricted myself and I felt restricted in my environments, and you feel someone taking your freedom. And I'll tell you that I lost that freedom with my marriage. I lost that freedom in my parenting. I lost that freedom in my community, in my culture. I gave it all away. I externalized all of my
Mhm.
power, all my authority. I gave it to other people. And then
Wait,
when it,
okay, but when you gave it away, is it because did you feel like that's what a woman does?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that I rely on other people, that people know better than me, which is so strange because at the core, I am an uncontrollable person. You can't control me. I control me. And so that is the thing. I was in these boxes and these things controlled me because they were rules. And I am obsessed with rules, but I wasn't always. And so in learning what happened when you don't trust yourself, you externalize your authority, and then you look for the rules. So what I did is I constantly couldn't trust myself, because I learned that I couldn't trust myself, that someone else always knew, that I always needed to find and outsource. Well, what's the answer? What's the right thing? What should I do? How should I do it?
How did you like what do you do to find ways to trust yourself? Like if you couldn't trust yourself before, is it like what do you do? Do you just freely like what do you do?
Right? First, knowing what is you and what is not you. We have all these voices in our heads, all these feelings in our heart. Who are you? Like, I now see myself as like split into 1,000 different women. All the women that I ever was, all the women I'll ever be, all the hurt parts of me, and they're all here because it's me, right? So what I learned is to distinguish between my ego and my external self, the one that I'm trying to please everyone, and then my internal self. So my internal self is always patient, always kind, always understanding, always loving, speaks to me like the most loving person. Imagine the most loving person that loves you more than anyone. How does that person see you? How does that person love you? If you don't have that, that's hard, but just look for the kindnesses that you feel. That is who you are. And when that person shows up, that is the person you trust. The person saying, "Oh my gosh, you're so stupid. Oh, why did you do that? You're lazy." The person who's calling you names, the person who's saying you're not enough, the person who's creating, "You better do this right now." The timeness, the anxiety,
Or the
that's me.
person saying you don't deserve this when you say this is beautiful, I would love this, and then it's the first
Yep,
voice
yep.
that says, "Oh, you
This
don't
is
deserve that."
beautiful. I love this is me. Wow, not for this is couldn't be for me. That's not true. That's not true.
Is that the ego?
That's the ego. That's the
Yeah.
ego and reaffirming part of my identity, the identity that
Mm.
I choose. Because I say, I'm a great person who sees beauty in the world. I don't deserve it. So the ego keeps saying, yeah, yeah, when we look at all this beautiful stuff, too bad it's not for you. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, you're right. But that's me. So when you learn to hear yourself and to quiet those voices, and those voices, when they're up there and she's screaming and she's like, nobody loves me, who's going to love me? You don't go, shut up. Just shut up, because that doesn't help, because you're hurting her. What does she need? She needs someone to say, I love you. Who's going to love me? I'm going to love you. Who's
Yeah,
going to take
and
care
it's
of you?
not true. You need someone to say, "That's not true. I do
That's
love you."
And I can say now when I hear myself, I said, oh, if I'll say, oh, well, they never loved me. And I can say, no, they did love you. They loved you the best that they could at that time. And you have to accept it wasn't good enough. And that's okay. I don't need to make it about them. I can make it. And see, that's how I honor myself, as I say, I don't have to figure out how to be different for anyone else. I just have to figure out what about me I can accept. And for someone not loving me, someone not treating me well, someone not giving me what I deserve, that has nothing to do with me. That's that their capacity to do that. And if they're not meeting my needs, all I have to say is thank you so much, and find the way I meet those needs. That is how you do it. Then you don't betray yourself. So every time when you want something, you don't give it up.
Okay, so there's one thing that like I heard this from Lindsay. She does the Powerhouse Women, and she had said, um, what the heck did she say? Oh, so Lindsay had said, ask for what you want and ask for how you want it and be okay with that. Like ask for what you want and then
See?
ask for how you want it. Like I want a
True.
nice I want a nice house, or like for me it's going to be my 50th birthday next week. So for me, I want to go to the hotel. I want to be at the pool with all my kids, grandkids, the whole shebang. There's like 17 of us. And I want to order room service and I deserve all the things and I just want to relax and these are all the things that I want and I feel no guilt in that. Like
That's
ask for
beautiful.
what you want and how you want it.
Asking.
I'm not asking nobody.
See?
Just
That's
making sure the money's in the bank. I mean, I didn't check that first. Then, like, oh yeah, it is there. Okay, here we go.
Give yourself permission to give yourself everything that you want. And
Yes.
it's such a simple thing, but it is harder than you think. I've seen you do it for years and I've admired it. I just was like, yeah, I can't, I don't know why. Because it's these invisible walls and these restrictions we put on ourselves
It's
based.
the old programming, Ohms. I
It
think
is.
it's the old program of like you're not deserving of this. And it's just the old program kind of like lingering. It's like a song that lingers in the back of your head, but that's the tune that it's singing,
But
you know?
I can identify it, and I always think that your most powerful position is awareness of why.
Yes,
I think the
for
most
sure.
I'm still good. Like, I think I was told, can't trust what I want. I'm a woman. I need to put everyone's feelings before mine. But now I know the things that I want are good. The
And the
things that
things that you want you.
want me. And it's easy. Oh my gosh, it's so easy. Every day I wake up and being present in this moment where I'm creating life, it's a good life. Every moment that I can consciously create is the life I want. I'm spending my time how I want to. I'm doing the things I want to. I'm having the experiences I want to. And even if they're bad, I'm finding the lesson in them. I've never lived this way. And it's so powerful. So powerful, so exciting, so much joy. Yes, there's sorrow. Yes, there's pain. But if I can, I'm still working on it. And healing is the thing.
Mhm. I heard this
Heal-
saying that there's no win or lose, it's win or learn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we either win or we learn.
there really is nothing to do until you focused on your healing because you want a new relationship, you want a new business, you want a new connection. If you are not healed, you're just creating the same life before. So as you go back and you keep like those people inside of us, all those women that I'm healing and carrying with me, every time I go back and I feel those pains and I reach them and I love them, I'm integrating into the same person that I am at a higher level, who is more true and more to the core of who I am. And it has nothing to do with the clothes I wear and where I spend my time and what I eat, what I don't eat, what I drink, what I don't drink. It
Mhm.
has to do with none of that. And it's such a distraction. It's so crazy that we spend our lives. It's like it's a perfect program to keep you away from who you are and your true self. And it's brilliant because unless you're aware, unless you're trying, unless you're facing challenges and pain and loss, you're not going to because you're not ready. But once you're in the pain, once you feel the pain, once you feel the hurt, once you feel the loss, and you're like, I don't like this, you ask why. And that why is so important if you can honor yourself. But if you say, oh, it's because I'm a crybaby, oh, it's because bad things happen to me, then you become a victim. But if you just say, why do I feel like this? And it's so in your hands. You have the entire power to make any life you want, to be happy in any circumstance at all.
Mhm.
And, you know, and I can say that because you can be happy and still feel sorrow. You can grieve and still have joy. You can be in love and still have pain. Like all of this is reality. It's not a
It's
binary.
life.
Yes, and it's all happening everywhere. And you get to experience the beauty that you choose to put your attention on. My life is about experiencing, learning, growing, and loving myself and everyone around me. Like,
Yeah.
dang, is there anything better than that? What is there to live
Right?
for?
I'm just gonna say I love all the versions of you. I love the version of you that one time, like, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago when we're in Vegas and we're like praying, you're like, we're gonna pray everybody. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna pray. Here we go.
I'm so embarrassed.
In Vegas, we're gonna pray. And then I love the version of you telling me one day I'm gonna give up coffee. But now the version of you is calling me from Starbucks like, Mops, what am I gonna order? I'm in the Starbucks line.
You know what? And it's so interesting because how neutral is that? Like how
Yeah.
neutral. Oh, but in my world, those shifts were monumental. Like being able to, like, as a faithful, prayerful, religious woman, those are the things I stood for. And we were going to be
Yeah.
adults, and I wasn't with my family and children. But now you're my extended family and children. I'm going to show my love by being, the way that I was, and that was who I believed I should be. And now I'm not associated with the things that I do as far as giving me value, which I did for so long. That was
Yeah.
it. And it's
But now you're like so free. You're free to just be you,
Mhm.
you know?
And whatever that looks like, there's no mistakes.
Yeah.
Whatever anyone else thinks about that, that's them. That's not me. Like I mess up all the time, but I'm so quick. If I feel it, if I've done something wrong, like gosh, I made a joke about Oh, it was about someone not being able to speak Spanish. And it was a few months ago, but I was teasing this girl that was dancing by me because I like know all the words, right? And it's part of like I love to dance and sing, and it's this thing. And when it gets really loud and like people around me, that energy is my favorite. So one of the girls said something and it was in English. And I said, "Oh, you should know this. It's in English." And it was just this joke, right? But I kind of saw this moment of like her in her eyes because I separated her. So that's what ego does. It separates you. It says, you're you and I'm you, and you don't and I'm not. And I saw it just for that moment. I felt it. And I
Oh,
stopped because this girl had been going through hell, like the worst 2 months of her life. And she finally came to class and I was excited to see her there. And, I take jokes too far. I say jokes at the wrong time. And I did. And when I saw that in her eyes, it hurt me. And I almost cried and I said, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to because it felt like I made it this thing like you're white and you don't speak Spanish." And I said, "I'm so sorry about that," immediately. And she was like, "Why are you making it a big deal?" Because it really wasn't necessary. But I said, "No, I don't like how I felt. I made you feel left out. I made a division where there should never be a division. And the thing is, that is the oneness of who we are. Like we have all these experiences. We have similar experiences. We all know heartbreak. We all know like loss. We all know death. We all know sickness. We all know rejection. We all know unbelonging.
and we
What
know the hurt we feel when we feel rejected.
I don't know what life I was living before, but it doesn't matter because this is my life and it's going to be the rest of my life.
Yeah,
Bad things are going to happen. Hard things are going to happen.
it
Challenges.
is.
Also, every single day I'm going to be happy. Every single day I'm going to love. Every single day I'm going to find a way to improve the happiness and the love and the joy around me no matter where I am. I'm going to create beauty where I go. I'm going to create happiness where I go. I am going to love people where I go. That is what my life's about. I don't know what everyone else's life's about, but that is what my life's about. And if I can do that, I've lived a good life. I've lived the life that I want to live. I don't want to be held back. I don't want anyone telling me what to do. I'm not going to listen. And to a point where it's probably a little bit looks like rebellion. I know I've had people say, "Why are you doing this? Are you just a big rebel?" And I'm just like, "No, I'm absolutely not a rebel. I want experience. I'm
But someone
curious."
asking you that, are you a rebel? I feel like that's someone who just lives in a box of so many set rules. How can that be a rebel? Like, how is
Because
it possible that you living the life that you want is being rebellious? What?
I understand it enough to be like I don't know. I get that doing
It
what
is
you
your
want,
life to live. It is my life to live. And this is what I want. And this is what I do. And this is how I live. And this is how I love. And like it or leave it, you know?
right? But it's hard to get
Yeah.
there because there's a lot of collateral. Like when you said, "What was I most afraid of?" or "What was the biggest challenger?" It was that I lost everything. It wasn't like, I mean, technically in my worldview, I lost everything. I
Yeah.
lost every promise, every surety, every certainty. And I don't believe in certainties anymore. I don't believe that there's anything that's always going to be the right choice. There's just life. There's just
There's
life.
just
There's
life.
just surrendering and accepting and releasing the pain. I think that's my biggest thing is that I hold all this inside and I
Mhm.
feel everything. So learning to process and letting go of the hurt of my life that or a time I thought I'd thrown away my whole life
Yeah.
because you're 42, 43, 44, and like gosh, who knows how long I'm going to live. I just
Yeah.
went through the cancer. I just realized I could die and it was over. And is this a life that I'm proud of? And if you would have asked me, I would have said yes. I would
Yeah.
have said, yeah, I'm so happy. And looking back, absolutely, I was not happy. And absolutely, I was not myself. But I wouldn't know that unless I learned to find myself. And then I can see, oh, well, yeah, that was me, but that was me being timid, or that was me not being able to show up as my authentic self, not thinking that I could be accepted, not thinking that I would be loved. And that is death for me. Like somebody
Yeah.
not loving me, someone not rejecting, or someone rejecting this thing that I need is painful like death. Like that's one of my core things. But it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what anyone else does to me now.
Yeah.
That I will not reject myself. I will not like
Yeah.
push myself away. And so in that way, if you accept yourself in your worst moments, when you mess up, when you can be kind and gentle and give yourself that acceptance, nobody else has to love you. No one else has to validate that you're worth it because you got you. You got you. That's all you need.
Mm. And I feel like that's so I was just gonna ask you, like, what's one piece of advice you would give someone who's feeling stuck and who wants big change?
Ooh, the
But I
best
feel
thing.
like you kinda answered it, but you can answer it again, like,
I
if there's,
think that to get there, and what I'm learning and what phase I'm in, the most impactful thing, and we talked about it, self honesty, right? Because we want to say honesty is a matter of truth or lies, and it's not. Honesty is a position of vulnerability,
Mhm.
and we learn to lie to ourselves first.
And
Because
sometimes being honest with yourself, it hurts.
oh, it hurts. It's painful.
It
Or you don't
is.
even know you're lying. So you
Yeah.
keep telling
But
yourself
you
it's
don't know
hurt.
you're lying to protect yourself from the hurt.
Yep, you
But
don't.
what's the
Well,
hurt?
what is the hurt? And that is the thing when you can be honest about why did I do that? Why would I want that? Why would I think I didn't deserve love? Why do I not think I deserve good things? I can't get to that answer unless I'm really honest. I can say, oh, well, because materialism or whatever, something simple like people said money is the root of all evil. No, that's not a thing for me. I don't think money's bad or good. I just didn't think I deserved it. And it's very simple. But if I think I don't deserve it, then I say, well, yeah, you really don't think you deserve it. I struggle thinking that I deserve love, which is funny because I love people so deeply, but I love them and I want them to love them like they love me. And why? Why do I need people to love me like me? Because when I'm giving it, I want to be seen in the way I see people. I have this thing that I want to feel from someone else. And you know what? It's not there. But guess who knows how to love like that? I do. So why don't
Mhm.
I just love myself?
So much good stuff. So much good stuff. That was so good, Ohms.
Well, I love you, Mops.
I love you too, girl. All right. So if people want to follow you, or even if they want to follow Nick, go to Nick's Zumba class because now that I got my throat surgery done, I can breathe. I'm gonna go on next time I'm in Utah, I'm definitely gonna go. I'm being the back row girl, but I will go.
Front row. Yeah, I need everyone in the front row.
Oh, I got two left feet. I'm like, oh, let me go in the back for the first couple songs.
You too. You'll see. You'll see that the stuff I post is the 25 seconds that I got it right. It's all marketing. Um, my Instagram handle is only photo.
Okay.
I'm still doing photography, but I am transitioning out. A lot of it has to do with my eyes and my inability to have the stamina I need to keep the work up without it stressing me out. I love it. It will always be part of my life, but I just don't think it's what I'm going to lead with, and it's not my creative focus.
You're just expanding.
I am,
Yeah.
and where things like that I once loved don't bring that same love. It's more something I have to find something else. It's time. Like I'm not afraid now to leave behind and to change. Whereas before I was like, change, I can't change. I can't change. I worked so hard for this. I've spent my whole life trying to figure this out. I've mastered my, so what? And so I'm going to keep doing it just because I learned how to do it and because I know how to make money
It's
with it
like,
because
what's next? It's like, and what's next? Yeah, you
not
did photography, and okay, now you're
now
into
what?
something
I'm going to do
else.
something else. And that's what I want to do with the rest of my life. Is it
Yeah.
47 is the beginning. And if I have 10 years left, if I have 20 years left, if I have 30, it's going to be life the whole time. It's not retirement. It's not settling into this comfortableness. No, I am going to push. I'm going to grow. I'm going to become something that's never existed because I've never existed. I'm going to be a woman who I don't even know. Like you go and I look for these women that I can really admire, these men that I can look up to, these people that inspire me. And there's no one like me because I have never existed with my same experiences, with my gifts to give, and I'm going to be about that life the rest of my life, my path that
Yeah.
is different than everyone's, and nobody can tell me what to do but me. And my only job is to honor myself and hear myself so that I can be on a path that brings me happiness. and supports me in my trials, you know?
I love that. Beautiful. Okay, so people can follow you at Omi Photo, but maybe, or just Naomi Masina, because
Naomi
maybe
Masina,
we might change
Naomi,
out Omi Photo to, who knows,
yeah,
Omi something else.
yeah. I have Facebook. I guess it would be a Naomi Tohara Masina.
Yeah.
Um, I have my husband's Instagram is the Zumba therapist, and
Okay.
his name is Nick Masina. So he's on both. But fun stuff like we've got ZumbaTherapy.com that we're revamping again, and it's just his choreo from his classes, and we're getting that taken care of now because he's going to be featured on some documentaries. Someone's doing a documentary on
Oh
him, and
my
it's
gosh, exciting.
local stuff. It's just fun. They're just fun. It's just, and he deserves it. He brings so much
Oh,
good
and
into the.
he's so good at it. He's so good at it. I love watching his stories. I love like it. I feel like it's like when his stories pop up, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like I wish I was there, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
so
Uh,
he'll come next time.
yeah. All right. Thanks, girl, for being on this
All right, I love
episode.
you.
I love you too, girl. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this podcast with your friends and family. It helps more than you know, and it allows me to bring even more amazing stories to your ears. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every share inspires another woman on her path to becoming her best self. I'll see you in the next episode.